All right, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, first rundown of MSI. Excited to do so. We're going to try to make these videos a little bit more compact. I'm going to cover like the most important things I believe happen in the series, and then I will give my general thoughts and then maybe some words on tomorrow's matchup. In this particular game, I think draft-wise, there was nothing too crazy, right? It's the Urgot blind pick is something that we probably are going to see more of. A lot of the top laners in the tournament are just playing it in solo queue. Urgot is a blind. A lot of the other staple top laners have gotten nerfs, and the answers into Urgot, are a lot of them are quite wonky. So I'm happy to see a lot more Urgot blind. Sejuani, you might ask yourself, why is Sejuani locked in here? I think that in their state of mind, they just wanted the jungle that is strong early. Because why are we seeing so much Sejuani in games where people think it's weak? The thing is, in this spot, like sure they could pick Maokai and maybe scale better, but they don't need to necessarily scale a lot better, you know? That's like their thought process. Because at least when you pick Sejuani blind, the answers into it is like Sejuani can contest level 3, level 4, level 5, then have a strong ult at 6, it turns to 2v2s and 3v3s, and then she falls off a little bit, right? Especially when she has no interaction with any melee. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys are looped in on the thought process. Later on in the game, maybe it would have helped if they had Mao here, right? And they simplified the game, especially if they are planning to lane swap to get him through the hurdle, because Maokai ult is just stronger and he has a stronger kit than Seju if he can reach, of course, level 6, right? But all in all, you know, everything else is quite standard. You know, Nautilus first pick via Zhao, and then the enemy matches with Senna Tam, and then they go Jinx into a lane swap strategy, and then Natalia blind. You know, all of these things are very standard, so we don't need to look at them too deep. Let's break down the swap here that they dropped. Just very dry here, you know. You can see in this game the importance of level 1 information. Level 1 information allows you to see what the enemy jungle is planning to do. It didn't seem like they were aware of the fact that lane swap is coming. I think the main thing that triggered it was the fact that the enemy has Ignite Rumble with no TP. TP is crucial when it comes to the lane swap, because you want to cross into mid, you want to stay busy, and in a case where the enemy, let's say jungle and top lane, show to defend, you can always TP top to catch as many minions as possible. So already Rumble with Ignite is at a significant disadvantage, so already we hit the mark on many things. Urgot, also a champion that is not super easy to dive because he has a dash and a shield and is relatively tanky. And then Jinx and Nautilus speak for themselves. And then additionally, Senna and Tankins, they don't hit turrets that well, right? They don't hit turrets that well. Senna has pretty low attack speed, right? They don't hit turrets that well, especially because the odds of a Tankins playing Demolish when they think they're gonna play standard is close to non-existent. So just letting this play through, let's take a look at the details. Sejuani being allowed to start in his own jungle is a crucial detail here, because they don't know what Sejuani is. So Rumble can only assume that the Sejuani is starting blue, Wolves, Gromp, and is ready to dive top. So Rumble is just abandoning top because he can't walk on the wave. But the issue here is that, of course, PSG have no level 1 information. Additionally, you saw that Taliyah warded the Raptors, so she more or less understands that Junjia is starting on blue. And with this in mind now, Rumble is going to show on mid-wave and Whip was already bought. This works because Sejuani is starting on the side where Bwipo is. So in this moment, just because they have information on Sejuani, Rumble is going to have a harder time, right? They have no info on Sejuani is what I meant. Rumble doesn't want to stay under the turret because he can get dove. And then he's just keeping busy by ganking Taliyah and then crossing into bot to participate on the dive on the Urgot. But the issue here is Sejuani is matched in level 3. And they have no information on Sejuani. And then as a response, usually you want to TP top to catch the wave, 1v2, right? But he can't because he's playing Ignite. So already here from following the trend of talking about lane swaps, you can see that the value here that FlyQuest gets because Inspired gets to clear his own bot side camps is very, very massive. So now the main thing is, right, you need to be under the bottom turret. Very important that Inspired never shows, never ever shows. And then you're going to have this continuation where like he just shows in case Bwipo gets dove. Very important to hide in Fog of War because you want to make the decision as hard as possible for Rumble. Here in this situation, Woody does have TP, so he gets to TP top. So there's that. But here, FlyQuest are very tough to dive. You know, Junjia is level 3, but Asi is level 1, and, you know, Betty and Woody don't have all the damage in the world. So Bwipo gets to catch his wave, he's super happy. Inspired gets to, of course, he just needs to stick around until this wave is caught, and then Woody TP stop, he does the job of a top laner. But then again, you know, it's like, sure, you get the gold on Tam, but it's, of course, not ideal for Rumble. But it is the proper solution to send Tahm Kench to TP top. It is the proper solution. You have to do it, you know? We continue. You know, this was just an extension. Now Rumble and Senna are laning against the Whip, and now Jinx and Nautilus are basing, so Senna and Rumble are going to match, and then you have standard lanes again, you know? Here I'm surprised in this moment, right? I'm very surprised in this moment that Betty and Woody, just because Jinx base first, they can easily pivot into going into bottom side. Maybe at this point they felt like with the level disadvantage, him being 3 against 5, that they can't lane anymore, which could be the thought process. But in my mind here, I thought that they're going to just look to match with Senna Tahm against enemy bot lane, because in my mind you would want to lane. Rumble as well is already quite kneecapped and Urgot is slow pushing out. So I thought plain and simple here, Senna and Tahm should match, right? And this is always what I talked about in the video, right? In the video that I talked about is Tahm Kench and of course, I talked about the team that bases after and reacts can always choose if they match or mismatch. And in this moment, I think the correct decision would be to go bottom side. I'm just making sure that the top wave is actually, you know, slow pushing towards red side. I don't know if the wave is frozen. Maybe the wave is frozen. No, it's not. It's very, very even. Rumble could potentially walk on this and just farm with the E. Obviously, the matchup will be a little bit worse, but I think it would be okay. Because I think this situation is worse for Rumble because he doesn't really achieve anything. And then Sejuani, Talia need to cross on the bottom side to make sure that Talia can't farm. I mean, Rumble can't farm. And that is it. Good rocks here by Jensen. Another thing I wanted to highlight is just minute 9. Still, you know, in the mismatch, FlyQuest is very happy. The 3 of the enemy, they are not so strong to dive. It's like the damage output that Senna has is very choppy, right? She procs passive, waits for passive cooldown. She doesn't have that much DPS to put out, you know? And the opposite is for Rumble. Rumble gets snapped here. He loses his neck into E, into R, into burst. And these situations are just better for Urgot, you know? So the extension of the lane swap was something that Senna and Tahm Kench chose. This game was very, very back and forth. The Jarvan and the Rumble did get plenty of value. There was a crucial moment in time where a lot of players, the discourse was surrounding Masu's team fight, so we're going to fast forward to that moment. This was a game where, you know, I think plain and simple, I think that Masu got sold out. So right now, in this moment in time, we have LCS Drake spawning. We have the Elder Drake, like of course the Drake spawning that the enemy is going to look to position for. Talia is showing on the bot wave. I don't think this is necessary. I don't like pushing this bot wave, right? Right now, position is king. Pushing this bot wave is not going to change the game at all. You're not going to threaten end. You're not going to do anything. I think it's important as a mage to always be in position to actually poke when the enemy enters. But the moment Talia shows on bot, even though she has R, it becomes an opportunity for the enemy to take more space, because space is king, right? Space is everything at this point in time. This wave, killing this wave bot, is not going to give you an item. It's not going to give you some kind of level up. It's not going to give you end pressure on bot either. So even imagine a world here where even the enemy would be even afraid to walk up here because Talia can wall them, they can play, they can deny so much more space by not taking that ball wave. The ball wave just doesn't matter. You always need to judge for yourself, like, is the pressure of that ball wave, is it going to outweigh the position that the enemy can take? And at this moment in time, 42 minutes into the game, we have LCS Drake spawning, meaning 6 Drakes on. Both are in, of course, soul point condition. It's much better to just hold the angles, especially as the mage that can place very powerful spells with one WE, you know, W into E, Q, of course, you can chunk people, maybe wall people, and maybe you can, you know, get a lot more done. We let it play out. This was like the crucial fight of the game. Now FlyQuest are in position to go towards bottom, towards the Drake situation. PSG are not looking to threaten end or anything like that. They are looking to play for this Drake. You know, maybe if PSG wanted to, they could create shenanigans, but I think the issue is that they would only get mid-inhib and this turret for Soul, and the Soul is a little bit too decisive in this game, so they want to contest. Even though they have the inward position on mid, it's not good enough, right? So we continue. This moment in time, we fast forward. So Junjia just ults on the first person he gets targeted, like any contact with. I think the key thing here is that I just want Jensen to already throw Q on these people. Like here, I think that Jensen should be here throwing Q on these guys. Like they should get poked. They should lose HP for being in this position, you know? Inspired is trying to find angles to ult from. But I think in this spot, you know, I think it's important that the mage always makes these guys pay a price for taking space. It's very important because Taliyah Q cooldown is non-existent, you know? Jensen is too scared. Like he shouldn't be scared, because if the Jarvan hard commits on Jensen, like you put your rocks down, you of course burn your flash on the engage, you need to want to invite the engage. Because if the enemy commits all the way, goes all the way, easy peasy. You know, you just need to be in this spot. And if the enemy engage on you, then your Jinx can free hit. Like you need to create space for this person. And you do so by posturing forward and hitting, you know? And you have to do it through Fog of War. I think they gave up the dig push way too easily. We let it play. We let it play. And now the enemy gets space in. Busio trades his flash for the Jarvan ult. I think this is like fine for Busio, not that big of a deal. I think that in my mind, looking at this, I think Busio should just fucking send it. Like this Junjia is just trolling, you know, by ulting him. He should just fucking Q him, fucking murder him here, right? Because it looks like in hindsight he should flash out later. He's just way too timid in the way he plays here. We continue. I think the same theory, like here it's a lot harder because now the enemy is playing from the dig push. Like now FlyQuest don't have vision here, and it's much harder for the Taliyah to actually trade because the Aussie soldiers, like whoever is in Fog, is going to have initiative. So here Jensen can't do much. Now it's better for Jensen to look for some wall angles, you know? It's better for him to look at some wall angles rather than posturing to hit spells. We continue. Now as everything moves forward, it's like I want to highlight that the Senna has 180 souls. So her range is crazy. She can trade hits with Masu very easy, and she hits hard. So the main thing that Masu needs to wait for is for his homies to actually like create space. Sejuani ult is down because they Sejuani ulted the Jarvan, but in this spot, it seems like the decision from FlyQuest is that they just want to play for a dry 50-50, but I don't like it too much. It's like Masu, I think that this wall is too early because there's no threat. Jinx is hitting the Drake. The only time you want to use this Taliyah ult is if the enemy crosses this line and actually put pressure on your Jinx that is hitting the Drake, right? That's the only time you want to Taliyah ult. The enemy didn't push it forward enough so you can hold it, right? It's very important when you set up for fights and set up for situations that you want to basically agree on the signal when you should throw your spells. That's the easiest way to find coordinations. It's like if the enemy crosses here and they are actually contesting my Jinx, I'm gonna send my ult, right? So it's a lot less spontaneous and everyone's in sync about what's happening. Because right now the Drake is 9k and PSG is wasting nothing for waiting. The Taliyah wall is a very important tool here. Now with this ult, Masu loses his HP. In my mind, it's like you can play this two ways. Either these three just wait and these guys are gonna take the space here and it turns into a 50-50. And then maybe if the enemy overcommits on Whip and Inspired, maybe there's a way for them to re-enter. Or as the enemy crosses through here, they fight back, right? Because I think that the main issue here is that Masu gets kind of sold. Like either Inspired and Bwipo say, we can stay in the pit and we are really tanky and we can fight, no problem. And we can just deal with the Drake situation on our own. And you guys just wait until the enemy burns tools to engage on them. Right? That's one way to play it. Or the other way to play it is that here Busio Q's in, he fucking throws his R, Q in, and then Inspired Q's in, and then Bwipo just E flashes, you know, and they go. There's two ways to approach this, you know? But in my mind, I like the idea of just turning on these guys that are face shaking because Junjia is deep, these guys are deep. Right? Like, I think if FlyQuest coordinated together here, I think that both work, you know, both work. Because here Bwipo is in close contact to Junjia, who has no flash. He just, you know, walked in with the EQ. That's his flag, right, that I'm highlighting this spot. I think that FlyQuest, this trio can play a lot slower, you know? So I think it's very, very valid, you know? I think that if you try to do the play where you commit with Busio and commit with Inspired and Bwipo, I think that the Azir might just have way too much value, you know? So I think that playing slow here and then these guys just chilling, I think would be the optimal play here. Just because of how beefy these two are. They both have chains on Azir at this moment in time. So here, if these guys did nothing, it would have been a lot better. Because these guys are currently brawling out, you know? And this is the ending of the game. Very close game. A lot of, you know, moments in this game. I think the key thing there to learn is just, I think that as FlyQuest had the better position, I think that Taliyah needs to make sure that the enemy pays a bigger price. All right, let's go into game number 2. Game number 2, we have a situation where the enemy heavily indexes towards the lane with the Ashe and Kalista. And then the blind quick Urgot makes a reappearance. This time around, they went for the Maokai instead of the Sejuani to have more engaged tools, and the enemy went Seju themselves, right? So in this spot, Ashe and Kalista, very strong level 1, 2, 3, you know? Wanting to avoid that through the swap is not crazy, you know, that's perfectly normal. I think that Urgot and K'Sante do both quite fine in the lane swap situation, but here, I think this variant of the lane swap is very interesting because you can see the decision making here from the lane swap that FlyQuest do is basically they commit to top side, Urgot, everybody's hitting, and they did the late invade variant. So Maokai is already taking these camps and the enemy is not looking to defend. Azir is on bottom side clearing with Sejuani. Maokai did 3 top side camps. So here, of course, blue side leveraged the fact that they are going to be 5 on top side, went for late invade. Of course, PSG wanted to, they could look for a trap. They could look for a trap, they could look to fight, and then I think Sejuani should just start in this camp, you know? Because you can place defensive wards. It's very hard to sweep all the wards on your re-entry. And I think if Ashe stands in this position and looks to, of course, fight if the enemy invades, that's something that you can do. But then you lose the very, very powerful Ashe level 1 stay on bush tech, right? So it's a give and take. So here, Lucian Nami, they push all the way, and then they, like Urgot, thins out the wave, and Bwipo is sharing XP with his homies, and then here Masu and Busio just hitting the turret. And then eventually here we have this moment in time where FlyQuest bot lane starts to base. So the price that you pay for this base, right, is that the enemy gets a little bit more time to hit the turret, but always Kalista and Ashe need to match this base because they need to spend their gold to match the fighting power of Lucian Nami. Here it's very weird that, you know, like both of these players, they've missed some CS, but it doesn't matter. I don't care about that. Here, most important thing, when to recognize when you need to base as the bot lane is when the enemy bot lane bases, you need to kill the closest wave and then maybe stay for the last plating. You need to kill that wave and then base and match. Because if the enemy walks out, you're going to have a very, very big tempo disadvantage. And that's not good. It's not good unless you gain something. Like let's say you stay for another plating and it changes the amount of gold you have for your base and then you get Dirk instead of 2 longswords. That can be worth it. But here in this spot, Kalista and Ashe get nothing from overstaying. So basically, looking to match the base here is important. You know? The other way, right? If you think that you're going to win 2v2 without base, that can be like a fine take too. But I think like getting the double longsword in is it's just optimal, you know? It's just optimal. Another detail of what Nami and Lucian get from the fact that they stayed for, of course, 5 waves into base is that you have a situation where the enemy top laner is going to have to TP top. And in that situation, Urgot keeps TP advantage, which is a very, very big advantage. So what did FlyQuest get from this? Is that they got a clean early game for Mao, Urgot has TP advantage, and Lucian Nami got out of the lane phase from Kalista and Ashe. What did Kalista, Ashe get from this? They got 1 more plating. So this is a very, very good swap here from FlyQuest, and they got everything that they wanted. I always talked about in my rundown about the lane swaps, is like what are you looking when you're ready to match? And here, after Lucian bases, he buys the Doran's Blade, and now he's walking on the Kalista and Ashe. Here, he already went past the 1-2-3, which is a very hard lane, and then they walk out on both. So Kalista, Ashe, they base late, and now the main question is, can they break the slow push of the enemy now? Because Lucian Nami, the big thing about the tempo here is that they can build this wave with the next wave, and Kalista, Ashe realistically shouldn't be able to break it. Okay? That's why like tempo matters. That's why tempo matters. So it's just an invade swap into crashing bot wave. Betty has no reason to walk on the wave like this. This is a very, very big mistake. Yeah? Very, very big mistake. We hate that. Okay. Bwipo was the MVP for me in this game. Like he did some delicious moves. I think that Jensen, you know, as a criticism to him, there's a lot of moments where he dies, where his teammates are connecting with him. He's dying when he's shopping, and he's burning his summoners. I feel like Jensen has a very, very hard time understanding the windows where he can operate and when he needs to hover. I think that he loses his flash and dies a little bit too much. That's something to highlight as a point of criticism. Let's take a look at this situation. I like that Bwipo makes sure that he farms all the way. He's confident, you know. Right now, Bwipo knows that he doesn't need to pre-TP because he has, you know, TP wards right behind the opposition. You can see that FlyQuest here are doing the re-entry. I think the draft is better at this point in time because FlyQuest, I mean, the Ashe and the Kalista don't have any value. Sejuani tries to queue in, which is complete troll. You know, there's no real way of engaging. And then Bwipo comes with the TP on the bot wave and rock and roll, you know. I wanted to show the most gangster move from the Bwip here in this game. It's this moment. This is the Bwipo and the Hylissang factor in my mind. Let me show you guys. So here, Taliyah is pushing bot for free because she has full information, right? The macro game that we're all watching, the macro game that is unfolding ahead in front of you, it is always a question of how many people do you need on midwave to take it securely so you can follow up with the next step of what, like how to control the map, right? It's like, the idea is you're on mid wave so you can farm side waves. So if you have information around side waves, meaning enemy jungle shows, enemy support shows, enemy solo lane shows, and you can steal waves, the enemy can't really dive mid. It's very often unrealistic to dive mid, very difficult to dive mid. Sometimes you have herald play, sometimes you have like some angles that you can play from, but it's very difficult to dive mid. So if you have enough information on the mid wave to steal waves, you go for it. Here in this case, Bwipo feels very strong, right? I've worked with Bwipo, so Bwipo is in the state of mind where I have 3 items, I don't want to farm anymore, I want to contest. He could choose to steal this wave, right? And then the enemy catches, and then they have prio on mid, and then they can play, sure. But he wants to do the aggressive decision. He doesn't go for the steal on the wave. He's going to contest the space he would give up if he would be on that wave. Because he can steal that wave top base recall because of how fast he is and the information he has, but he wants to fight. Bwipo was saying right now, I'm done farming, I have 3 items I want to fight. Which is very, very nice, you know. Here in this spot, Bwipo is walking into the bush. He wants to make sure, you know, that he's fucking fighting back. Like, he doesn't want to let these guys take the space. He sees K'Sante on the mid wave, and there's not a lot of players that would have the foresight to actually actively look to fight here. Because he's saying right now, see, I have 3 items, I want to fight, where are you guys? Taliyah is now hovering, and now they're looking, and then Bwipo pulls the trigger here. Why are PSG playing so aggro there? They're playing aggro here because Taliyah showed on bot wave. So they should contest the space. And that's why, like in high-end games, always what happens is that the fight is over river. Here, Bwipo took the decision that he doesn't want to give anything up. He could have stole the top wave, but he chose, I'm going to contest river, because the enemy needs to take the space as the punish for Taliyah pushing bot. Because imagine a world where PSG didn't contest here. Then they are on this mid wave, and Taliyah can push another wave even deeper. And that is it. Why does Maple face check a bush? I think in this spot he just feels kind of safe. Because keep in mind, they have vision here, they see Nami, they spot the Mao, you know, he feels safe. He feels safe. He saw Taliyah bot and he sees enemy Lucian, enemy Nami, he feels safe, right? He's thinking, yo, if this fucking Urgot engages on me, we should be able to win, right? Because keep in mind, if PSG don't go here, then Taliyah can push the next wave deep. Because right now, FlyQuest has full information. Is there any way they can counter it? No, this is matching with strength. Because at this point in the game, they're just weaker. And Bwipo knows this. So he doesn't want to give up anything. So in this spot, Bwipo fights back. I think Bwipo has brilliant Sterak's gauge usage. Like, he's very, very aware of his Sterak shield. And I like that a lot, you know. I like that a lot. He pushes forward, goes deep, gets the fear off. Ease for the shield. Very nice gameplay from the whip. Very nice stuff, man. Very nice stuff. All right, I think that's it for this game. Maybe we can take a look at the 29 fight too. I think that maybe the usage of ults were not too good. It's always the same question, you know. It's like, I would much rather see a situation where Jensen is the one in the bushes poking and harassing the enemy as they enter. Like, that's the whole point of Lucian, Nami, Taliyah, these type of champions. Is like they need to win the fight before the fight starts by rotating their spells. Some champions are very, very good at fighting head-on. Some champions are much better if they can rotate many rotations of the spells, right? Basically the conversation range against melee, you know? Do you use Taliyah ult? Crazy low, the Maokai ult cooldown. It's so low. You see that Maple is trying to undermine FlyQuest here by looking for the flank, but the fight starts too quick because of Maokai ult. I think they were also surprised that the Maokai ult cooldown is off, and at this point I think FlyQuest just outscaled them. This next game, I think this was a very, very good example of basically a fantastic God Champ spot. It's like Olaf, even Garen, and then Darius too. Why is that? So basically K'Sante, Xin Zhao, and Rell, they are all champions that are weak against them, right? In essence, Xin Zhao hates to play against bruisers. He hates to play against bruisers that can stick to him. In the past, like if you think about the counters in jungle, yeah, there's of course, Kha'Zix is not a bruiser, but he's good at sticking to him, right? You think like Olaf was an answer in the past, Trundle. Like, you hate playing Xin Zhao against champions where Eing in is basically suicide. So you think of, for example, Renekton is also like a good answer, right? Renekton is also good here, right? And the enemy team is relatively low damage too, like Karma, Kalista, they are not that high damage, high DPS. So if you think about this spot here for Olaf, it's brilliant, right? These three champions can't do much against Olaf. And if you see K'Sante, Xin Zhao cases, God champions should be picked, you know? It's just very, very good all around for them, you know? So the Olaf comes in and Olaf gets a lot of value here. I like it. Because someone mentioned Poppy, but Poppy, Like, sure, there's dashes and all, and Poppy can get value, but I think that you need some more firepower here because you have Sejuani in the jungle, you know? I think that Poppy could be fine too, you know? But I do think that Olaf is like creme of the crop. Another thing about Olaf, right, is you can do very, very cheeky things when it comes to lane swap scenarios. There was no lane swap in this particular game, but what you can do with Olaf is that you can do this thing where level 1, right, on the swap, you stay in the bush and then you fight enemy bot lane, enemy AD, all in level 1. You just ghost on them and fight them to the death. That's like, definitely like something that you could do, you know? So, in regards to this game, I think that the key thing here was just Junjia's mistake, really put them far behind. Junjia does the action where he like is matching jungle, and with the bot push, Junjia should just collect double crab, but Junjia walks all the way around. I don't understand for what reason. There's no dive bot, there's no play bot. I think that the wave is too close to Varus and Nautilus turret. Here Junjia straight up, there's no reasoning to doing this. He had information on the Raptor as well, so he knew that Sejuani cleared on the bot. And in this particular situation, it's like even going into bottom side, there's no dive. You're not going to dive them. And additionally, I think that, you know, you should know that everything is gone. Now you should just cross mid, pressure the Orianna, take the crab, and you're going to be 32 CS versus 24. Sejuani is going to have a base advantage, and maybe she can invade your Raptors because you're going to be clearing a little bit slower, right? But that is all good in the hood, you know? This is just a very absurd mistake from Junjia. Because what is he actually looking for? I think diving bot is very unrealistic. And this Busio, he misses, which is very troll, of course. He just hooks the wall, and then they flash after him. And then it seems like as the lane gets extended, it looks like Busio doesn't remember that he doesn't have flash with the way he plays it. Because look at him go here. He punches the wave and he thinks the enemy based, but PSG just fake based and they pinged out the previous ward, right? So they fake base on this bush. I talked about how strong Ashe Kalista is. Like if you crash the wave, right, and you go into Fog of War, the enemy that slow pushes needs to be very scared. That's a chokehold that you can leverage against bot lanes. You can use this in solo queue too, is that when you crash, for example, third wave, fourth wave, right? And then the enemy, they need to push the next one to crash into your turret. This is your moment to trap in this bush, because the enemy is going to use spells on the wave. It's a very good active punish. So I like that PSG trap in the second bush because this bush is warded and Fly did a very standard thing, right? And here's the punish because FlyQuest just want to push this wave as fast as possible. They find Busio, he has no flash from before and he dies. And luckily FlyQuest here, they do get, of course, a kill. I think here in this spot, probably Masu can fight because of how his passive works. Like if he stacks his passive and then lands a Q right with the auto, his cooldowns come back off. I think maybe he could fight to the death here because he had the wave, fully the tempo stacked, and additionally he gets the passive from the kill. So I think here in this spot, maybe he could just fight to the death here against Betty. All right, I think this game largely was, you know, not super eventful. I think a big deal, the big part of it is this one. I really like this remaneuvering here from FlyQuest because basically Jensen TPs to midwave. And we talked about this a lot. We want the mage to be here to make sure that the enemy pays the price. The issue here with Jensen as well is that it's harder for him to pressure anything from the flank, right? He can connect easily through this spot just because of the design of the map, but you will see here what FlyQuest recognized. PSG, in the moment that Jensen shows on midwave, here Woody should actively look to Q flash and look to fight, because this Orianna will have a hard time connecting. They should all in on these guys, right? They have a ward here, they see these guys. I think that Woody is trolling his position. Here, Betty is hitting the wave and they are pressuring by being in Fog of War here. When these guys are pushing too far forward, FlyQuest can take more space. So this is a mistake, of course, from Woody. He should know the moment Jensen TP is here that he should look to actively pressure here the moment his wave is dead and Betty can hover. But you see that PSG is not aware of this concept, so they give up space that they don't need to give up. And there's no Q flash angle, nothing, no pressure from Woody. They walk, they use Karma E, But Woody and Junjia don't pull the trigger, right? If you don't want to fight here, if you don't want to fight on that on this spot, you're not fighting this Drake at all, right? So we continue. In this moment, you see that FlyQuest recognized, yo, we should just keep Orianna with us and poke them when they try to re-enter. And then they do this beautiful thing where they send Bwipo into the mid wave. And for Bwipo, it's a lot easier to tether to the opponents, right? If the enemy is going to cross into this space and they're going to, look to posture on these guys, Jensen can poke with his QW, and also Olaf can actually tether with the opponent, right? He can tether his movement to the Kalista and be ready to snap. With Orianna, that's a lot harder, right? Because you can get engaged on and die. But Bwipo doesn't suffer from the same issue. So here, Jensen, I think that he should throw spells, like when K'Sante is like sniffing here, you should always QW him, chunk him, and you should poke. Like that's the point of mages, right? You contest the dig bush, you poke and you hit, and you rock and roll. Like all damage is significant that you do. Here, after you throw your spells, of course, you need to kite back. It's like you throw your spells, and then here Azi is tanky, right, and using Kama E. Here you should give up. This is good from Jensen. You know, he's kiting back. He used the spells already, and he made the enemy pay a price. You know, this is fine. Now they kite back, and now Olaf, just because he sees everybody, right? He sees 5 members. He's now gonna tether himself to the situation. Information is king, guys. Now Olaf is undermining them, walking backward. Busio is holding spells. I think that Busio, queuing in like this is completely true. Like Busio is straight up in here with this queue. He should just wait and tether. Like he should let the Varus and Orianna get value. And then he should only queue when Olaf is in position enough, because the Olaf needs to react to the ward, right? Olaf can't go if people are in this pink. But if people are in this pink, then FlyQuest can push her forward, right? And then the moment the enemy crosses this pink and they are spotted on this vision, it means that then Olaf can undermine them, right? But if the enemy is in this pink, he can't, but then it means that FlyQuest can contest the space, right? We continue. Here, Busio, this Q was really, really bad, and then you find the angle here from Inspire. There's a very nice engage, and then, of course, Bwipo snaps, and they rock and roll. They rock and roll. They rock and roll. Stridebreaker against Kalista is a dank purchase. I like that. Very, very good. Bwipo cleans up, and they get the Drake in the end, putting them to soul point. So to summarize the series and what we can take away from to maybe the next games that these guys are gonna play, I think PSG still, I feel like they play very outdated League of Legends. I think Junjia, he needs to do more, because he looked like average here. Inspired, I think, did better than him. I think that FlyQuest, the key thing about FlyQuest for me is the fact that these are homies that, I think Busio and Jensen, I don't think that they played so well today. I think Jensen, Orianna, vintage Orianna, all that good stuff. But I think that there is many things that they can fine tune. I think Busio played a lot worse than Jensen, don't get me wrong. And we're just nitpicking, right? But we are looking at the details that make, elite mid laners against like good mid laners. Because Jensen is solid, but is that going to be good enough against fucking T1? I don't think so, right? So Busio really needs to get his head out of his ass though, because he had a lot of blunders. And there's that. T1, T1 series. In the T1 series, I think the most interesting aspect was how they leveraged the mind game. The mind game of what they did was super, super cool in the lane swap. So basically T1 lane swapping, and they go for Neeko. I think Neeko is probably going to be like the strongest support of the tournament. I think like Neeko mid is whatever, because she has no items to purchase. Like Protobelt legit got nerfed 18 times, so it's just a dash. I think Neeko support with Lucidity Boots and Protobelt, your flash has so much value. It has never been about the damage that Neeko does or anything, so scaling is irrelevant. So the position for her to be in bot is perfect. She gets the shielding support item, takes it easy, and then she has a very strong lane phase too. So I think Neeko support is giga broken, like really, really strong. there's very little flaws to actual Neeko support. Like, this champion will get value always. Mid lane is a lot weaker because gold is frankly just not super relevant on this champion. And we continue. The enemy team wanted to challenge, of course, T1. And I think the key thing is that they saw the Yone pick, so that triggered, of course, the lane swap call. The lane swap call is triggered by the Yone lock-in here on 5, locking in Yone against Zeus is funny. But here, of course, Yone with no economy is completely useless. So even if you have Kalista Neeko that can lane against Rell, Draven, of course, they are doing the swap for the purpose of Yone. Here, something that I didn't cover too extensively because it didn't have it in the examples, something that T1 do is so beautiful here. And the main thing about these lane swaps that we're going to see adaptation in is of course in how the teams use information. So first and foremost, the fake out here is very nice because Keria turns into Zeus. That's like an added layer that only, of course, Neeko can drop, you know. Neeko turns into whoever the fuck K'Sante is showing on the wave. Like, you're turning into K'Sante, you know, you get spotted, all is fine and dandy, you know. You are just turning into whatever champion is relevant. And then additionally, of course, Owner is starting on bottom side, so he's chilling. And then we rock and roll, you know. He smites, he walks away from the red. So all of the things are already good, you know. Lee Sin gets his bot side camps, Volibear starting top side too, and then Yone is just piecing out and going already. If they wanted to, of course, here in this spot, based off of what we said earlier, if they wanted to, they could do the Yone Volibear defend here on the wave. But instead, Yone is just going for a mid gank on Faker. And they burn his flash, and here easily they can do the Volibear Yone defend angle, you know? The Yone shows, Volibear now crosses into bottom side, Kalista is going to look to spot golems, and you know, T1 is just stacking 3 waves into the crash. So after spotting the golems, Volibear pieced out, Keria scouted the jungle. Here, Yone also showed that he crosses into bot. So now T1 have all the information that they need, okay? All information that they need. Lee Sin didn't show yet, and Yone is too scared to walk top. He's not TPing, right? Because he doesn't know Lee Sin position. And this is the part of the mind game that is so important when it comes to lane swaps. Because if Lee Sin shows bot and they catch a full wave, sometimes that's too late already. So Zeus is level 2, he managed to steal away some XP, and Yone is not TPing top because he assumes that if he TPs, Lee Sin is gonna kill him. So we continue. Now K'Sante is just chilling in the bottom side, and now Yone is basing. Volibear is continuing his clear, and now K'Sante is just tethering because he wants to spot people. He wants to see if he can get any information. Now Lee Sin goes into the bottom side and also Keria based. Right now still, Yone doesn't know where Lee Sin is and where Keria is. So he's still scared of TPing top, still very scared. But by the time Keria shows up here, and of course the Lee Sin shows up here, they manage to get a lot of CS. And the beauty of this situation is that at this point, Gumayusi stops pushing the wave. He lets the wave bounce. It's such an important detail because he lets the wave bounce, which puts Yone in a horrible spot. In all the other lane swaps, when the enemy is trying to defend, the AD keeps pushing, but he lets the wave bounce when T1 re-enter. Why is that so important? Because the Yone is going to react to, of course, Keria and Lee showing on bottom side by TPing top. But he's TPing on a wave that is bouncing into the Kalista that is many levels higher than him, right? So let's see this play out. There we go, there we go, there we go. Boom. And now he TP's top, but look at that top wave. Look at that top wave. There's no wave to be taken. The timing is gorgeous. Volibear was not around and the wave is bouncing, and Gumayusi is way stronger than him in the isolated 1v1. Zeus got more XP than him. Yone, all he did was take Orianna's flash. And now Gumayusi lets the wave bounce. And now Draven is basing and K'Sante can push for free. And Gumayusi just For some reason here, I don't understand why he unfreezes. This is what was weird to me, because I think he should keep this situation. He should keep this situation here, in my opinion. I don't think he should break the wave. Because here, Draven has to go bot. Draven has to go bot, or Ahri base TP's bot, Draven crosses through mid with Rell, and then they cross into top side. Those are two decisions. The reason is because Yone is already on top, and someone has to catch bot. That's why this is so essential. They can't ignore bot. Draven and Rell can't walk out on the top wave. So I don't like the fact that Gumayusi breaks the freeze here. I don't think it's correct. Jose Diodo comes around and now he breaks the freeze, and now Gumayusi is building a wave. Because in this spot here, Draven is catching against K'Sante, no problem. Yone is farming, Volibear and Rell are defending. No issues here. They can take it easy. It's like T1 can be very happy with the lane assignments, right? Because K'Sante can do fine against Draven, but Draven should win, right? But here I think that T1 are just challenging this fight here for fun. Because EST are farming on Yone. They should be happy. They should be very happy. But for some reason, EST decide to commit all in here. Because there's no reason to do so. The level of disadvantage is just too big. Like this Yone is level 3 and Gumayusi is level 5. There's no reason here to fight, you know? Keep in mind also Volibear no base, so he didn't spend anything, and the fact that EST hardcore rock and roll fight here is a mistake in my mind. Like all EST need to do is to wait. They just need to wait. Let Yone catch that wave, and the next wave is so far, and then T1 need to exit. There's nothing for them to do. And then they can choose to play from that position, you know? Because I don't think like Draven 1v1, like Draven 1v1 should shit on K'Sante in my opinion. Because that keep in mind is a K'Sante that's level 4. I guess a Draven with Sheen, you know? Okay. So here, T1 mechanically execute right, they back off, and then once again, the same thing, the wave bounces. The wave bounces here, they base, and then Draven pushes out. And then Draven, after pushing out, wants to match top. But once again, here, the same thing. It's like, the wave is bounced, Yone couldn't push in all the way, and now Kalista's on the wave, and the wave is frozen. Which you can see here, just based off of Draven walking out on the frozen wave. Look how much Kalista's CS is going to balloon as an advantage of this. So it's like, making macro mistakes is very costly in of course, lane swapping. So here Gumayusi is ballooning his CS lead, 65, and now Draven comes in to crash this wave, but it means Gumayusi can collect all of these minions that were slow pushing into him, and now all of a sudden Gumayusi is fucking 20 CS ahead, you know? Let's move on to game number 2. Game number 2. We have another swap situation with the K'Sante lock-in. Here, of course, Kalista Rumble. You have Kalista Rumble. Maybe they can fight back against Ashe and Draven, but here they pick Aatrox. And then last pick Viego. In this particular game, just Kalista Rumble, cross into top side, Viego starts top side, and they just begin to stack a wave. K'Sante is under the turret, and you know, here Zeus tries to pull off the 369, which isn't the greatest. Jose Diodo clears his bot side camps and then is going to cross into the enemy bot side camps, so we just have a full-on split map situation. Faker is giving the enemy a lot of value level 1. Like the top laner has completely homeless, right? Because bot lane wave doesn't crash. Faker is giving the enemy a little bit too much, right? A lot of the wards are being spent already, so you can't put wards to deny this. But 2 games straight, the enemy team gets a shit ton of value from the top lane ganking mid level 1. So this is something that Faker needs to pay attention to, you know? Here, EST, of course, they're crashing the wave. This is exactly the scenario we saw with 369 against the Ashe and the Kalista and the Viego. You guys remember that? But here comes Aatrox, 4-man dive, very straightforward. Here, you know, it's very important to be mindful of your resources, because let's say Ackerman gets chunked, Snaker gets chunked to kill this guy one time. It means that when Zeus TPs, right, when he TPs back, the enemy will have less resources to dive. So here, I understand why Estral want to rush, because they don't want him to reach level 2, right, of the XP of the minions. But all in all, usually if you want to dive, the best way to do it is that Aatrox starts, right? Aatrox should start. Also in these situations where, you know, the swap is forced, playing Dematerializer is a very, very good thing. So here they get the first kill, Ackerman, they heal, he's out. Of course, Idioto very close to the dice here, one more turret shot, like he was just in that range. Here, you see the redive here on Zeus. And the funny thing is that when Zeus TP's back, he actually doesn't have W ready because of the death timer being so low. He doesn't have W yet, and Zeus is doing some movement. He's going back and forth. He managed to kill Cody. You know, the signal here for Aatrox TP is, of course, the moment Rumble shows on mid. You know, Rumble shows on mid, but he's busy in the dive. He kills him, and then Aatrox, you know, he loses all of his HP, so he needs to base before. But this becomes a little bit awkward for Aatrox because he needs to punish the Rumble by TPing top, but now he loses so much of the wave. And there you have it, you know? There you have it. So as the opener here, Estral, they are better off, you know? They are better off. The only, like, sad part is, of course, that Aatrox couldn't fucking, you know, TP top. And I think still, you know, it's like he couldn't TP top in the window the Rumble showed mid, but now it's too late, of course, because Rumble's back top. And now all these minions die top, and Zeus gets to slow push a wave out, and look at the XP advantage, you know. Aatrox is still level 1, and Zeus is still pushing a wave. This is painful for him, you know, very painful for him. And all these minions were lost top, Kalista and Rumble, base to match with the Draven Ash. And now they're walking on top side, and they're ready to go, because the enemy has no heal, the enemy has no barrier, and Zeus is winning the matchup pretty fucking hard. Alright. I think the rest of the game, like, I think T1 played quite sloppy. I think that they didn't really respect timers too much. I think that when Faker was like farming, they didn't like accept like small wins. They were playing very fast and loose. But of course, it's very hard to judge, you know, T1 based off of these games. You know, like what are we supposed to say about T1? Like, we're gonna judge them for, you know, playing loose against a weaker team. I don't think it matters. I think it's cool that T1, you know, they seem very in tune with the whole lane swap strategy. Like, they are aware of the crucial details. They had good base timers. They played with the mind game super well. I think that they definitely had, you know, a very advanced understanding of the lane swaps, which makes me excited. You know, makes me excited for what T1 can show and how the development of lane swap meta is going to be when it comes to the high-end teams. So it's like that beautiful move that we highlighted when they defended bot, you know, and bounced the wave on top. Like, those are very, very nice moves. I like that a lot. But of course, we want to see more standard lanes. But I think that T1 lane swap twice here against Estral to send the message. They sent the message showing, yo, we are ready for this. So maybe you guys should challenge us in the actual lane phase like men. And that's day one. You know, in terms of tomorrow's matches, I think that we don't need to say too much. I think plain and simple, I think that you know, Fnatic should be the better team over GAM. The main question is, what kind of form is Fnatic showing? I don't think that GAM should be a weak team, right? They won a region, but I think, you know, first and foremost, I didn't watch any VCS. They went through this whole fucking gambling scandal where half of the players just got, you know, ruined, and GAM is playing with subs. So I don't know what to expect from GAM. I don't know what to expect from Fnatic either, because they had like a 5-day bootcamp. And I know those days are, you know, are messy. Someone in chat is saying that there's even visa problems, that the VCS players didn't get visas, so they're playing with additional subs on subs. They could open a subway. It's a disaster. And Top Esports should smoke Loud. I don't think Loud, are gonna do anything to break Top Esports. So the predictions are very, very easy to make, I think, at this moment. All right, that's it for the first rundown of MSI.